Bastion is one of the most visually stunning and creative RPGs I've played in a long time. It's fun, simple, and pretty tight, though there are a few minor flaws that could hamper the experience for some. It was released in 2011 for multiple systems, though I played on the iPhone version, so keep that in mind when considering my minor criticisms. The story is as follows. The game takes place in the aftermath of the Calamity, a catastrophic event that suddenly fractured the city of Caledonia, as well as the surrounding areas of the game's world, into many floating pieces, disrupting the ecology and reducing most of the people to ash. The players take control of the Kid, a silent protagonist who awakens on one of the few remaining pieces of the old world and sets off for the Bastion, where everyone was supposed to go in troubled times. The only survivor he meets there is an elderly man named Ruckus, the game's narrator, who instructs the Kid to collect the cores that once powered the world. A device in the Bastion can use the power of the crystalline cores to create landmasses and structures, as well as enable the Kid to travel farther so that he can find pieces of the world to restore the Bastion, figure out what happened, find a better future, and hopefully find a female, otherwise he will have to repopulate the world with Ruckus. Ugh. The story of Bastion is very solid, and told in an interesting way. Much of the storytelling is done through the narration, which happens as a voiceover during the actual gameplay. The voice work is done by Logan Cunningham, and he is just so good, like Morgan Freeman good. His voice is amazing. The story is all told through his character, and it works really well thanks to tight writing that's descriptive, yet to the point and enthusiastically told. It also makes the levels a lot more interesting because you aren't just blasting your way through the same things mindlessly, but also hearing what's going through your character's head at the same time as you progress. The narrator comments on your actions, suggests what to do next, and more. It's very dynamic storytelling and unlike anything I've ever seen. It's a tale about regrets, overcoming challenges, and staying true to yourself, with a pretty grungy, dark tone, so I think everyone's bound to get something out of this one. However, the overall plot itself just fell a bit flat to me. It's another one of those games that presents this whole other world with new terminology and all this fun stuff, and I just have a hard time getting into the lore. It was a bit generic and kind of preachy for me, but objectively, it had some great stuff, and the ending was particularly powerful. Particularly one final walk that I'm sure anyone who's played it would agree is one of the best moments in gaming. The gameplay itself is where this one really excels, and it's excellent. This is an action RPG with all of the usual fixings. You run around this world, mowing down enemies with various weapons and power-ups. There's a great variety of ways to take down your enemies when you power up weapons, so you'll never really play the game the same way twice. This is especially important because it's a rather short game, and it's usually better for portable play, so I found myself, when I was at break at work, occasionally picking it up and taking 10 minutes or so to beat a level, and it was fantastic for that. Another really cool thing about the game is how satisfying it is to mow down these enemies with explosive and viscerally satisfying weapons. I particularly like the oomph of the shotgun or the giant ass hammer. You travel through these short, tight levels that present new challenges, though it always comes down to blowing something up, which is fine by me. It's really cool when you get to voice over comments on your successes and failures in dynamic ways, and it's a really unique way to just get you to try new things in the gameplay or make you see the world in different ways. At the very least, having this dynamic, interesting narration over the gameplay makes the gameplay itself more interesting, and you feel like you're doing more than just shooting enemies down, and honestly, it really made this game feel a lot more dynamic, enjoyable, and unique. The only complaint I have about the gameplay is that the game is pretty easy. I think I played on normal difficulty, and the game was really forgiving, almost taking away most of the challenges in many of the levels. This might just be because I played on the iPhone version, but I didn't like how tight the levels were. And what I mean by tight is not tight in the gameplay sense, like, oh, everything worked well in a neat little package. No. I mean, like, the corridors are literally claustrophobic, and it makes it really tough to dodge things sometimes. I just wanted more of a range of movement. It was also extremely frustrating because there are many places where you can easily fall off the level if you're stupid, and if you play on a little iPhone like me, you'll fall all the friggin' time, and the narrator will keep making fun of you for it. However, again, that last issue is probably just an iPhone issue. In any case, the gameplay is tight, and it really rewards replaying. It works really well as a pick up and play title. The graphics in the game are pretty great. I like the detail, the world looks unique, and the characters look stylized as well. It's really a game that doesn't look like anything else I've played, although it didn't really pop. It's not incredibly memorable, but I still think that the graphics were well done. The music was also great. I hear people say that this is one of the best video game soundtracks of all time, and although I don't quite see that, there are some songs that are pretty solid. I only remember maybe 3 songs from the game, including some battle themes and the final credit theme, but not too much else. Still, there was nothing bad about the soundtrack. I just don't think it's quite as good as people say, but maybe that's just me. Can't account for taste. To conclude, Bastion is a very solid action RPG that's especially well suited for portable play. It's tight, unique, and enjoyable. I particularly liked the way the story was told thanks to the dynamic narration, and honestly, that alone warrants a playthrough. I'm sure that you have one system that can play this title, and although it's not a game that I super enthusiastically recommend, I recommend it nevertheless, because it's unique and fun. Give it a shot. Thanks for watching.
Feel your heart and it's glowing.